Who are the Ford family in EastEnders as Jasmine Link is exposed? If you've been watching EastEnders this week, you've probably been left with a few questions. Just who is Jasmine Fisher? And what are her motivations? How much danger is Cindy Beale truly in? Just who are the Fords? Well, unfortunately, I can't answer the first two questions for you. The third, though I've got you. Though the supposedly terrifying family have yet to appear on screen, the impact of what is apparently a large crime syndicate on the Beale family has been enormous. With Cindy convinced that Jasmine is a member of the Ford gang, and her appearance in Walford is part of a larger revenge plot, it's probably time we took a proper look into who they are and what they're about. Who was Jackie Ford? In prison, Cindy found herself bunked up with a particularly dangerous cellmate. Jackie Ford, a crime matriarch who controlled the Ford criminal family with an iron fist. Desperately seeking release, Cindy made a deal with the police to inform on Jackie's criminal rackets in exchange for her own charges being dropped. The only problem that would leave Cindy in serious danger of the horse's head in the bed treatment. So, with the help of the police, she faked her death while giving birth to Cindy Jr. Despite Cindy's apparent death, the threat against her family was still very real. So real that when Lucy was murdered, she was convinced it was a hit by the Fords. How did Cindy end up behind bars? Cindy has always been, for lack of a better term, a bit of a cow. She arrived and immediately implanted herself in a love triangle between Simon Wicks and Ian Beale. She got pregnant by Simon and tried to pass the baby off as Ian's. Though she eventually absconded when the paternity was revealed, she later returned to Ian's side and gave birth to the twins, Peter and Lucy Beale. In between establishing feuds left and right, namely with Ian's mum, Kathy Beale, she starts a string of affairs, first with Matt the lifeguard, and later with David Wicks. When Ian discovered the truth, he turned incredibly cruel, leading Cindy to seek a permanent solution to her marriage issues in the form of a hitman. I mean, most people go for a divorce, but I'm not here to judge. When Phil and Grant Mitchell tracked down the shooter, Cindy fled to Italy, though she was found and brought back to the UK to face a custody battle, later being arrested for conspiracy to murder over her role in Ian's shooting and sent off to the clink. Cindy's new life as Rose Knight. After her release, and under her new identity as Rose Sawyer, Cindy met and married George Knight and had two daughters, Gina and Anna. After returning to Walford in the wake of Lucy's murder, she was sanctioned by the police for putting herself in danger and told she couldn't return to George. She later reconnected with Ian, and the two took to living in France, running a baguette stall, alongside son Peter. When he learned he had two sisters who had set up in Walford, Peter headed back to meet them, while Cindy was visited by her police handler. She informed Cindy that Jackie Ford had died, and in the years prior, the Ford crime family had been all but extinguished. By the time Jackie met her maker, she'd lost all of her power in the underworld and, upon her death, Cindy was free to resume her former life, leading her to head back to Albert Square. Jasmine Fisher's arrival. When enigmatic Jasmine first arrived, it quickly became clear that she wanted the tea on Cindy. She hustled Freddie Slater out of his job at the Albert and maneuvered herself into it, and despite spending plenty of time with her new boy toy, Oscar Branning, she devoted the rest of it to digging into Cindy's past. Though as devious and cunning as the target of her interest, Jasmine did raise eyebrows with her enigmatic nature. Elaine Peacock questioned her over her lack of documentation and complete unwillingness to reveal anything about her life. When Jasmine dropped the small nugget that she'd left home to avoid joining the family business, Elaine decided that said business must be criminal. Next episode saw Cindy and Lauren Branning decide to investigate and, upon finding Jasmine's phone, organized a meeting with her mum. Is Jasmine a Fordanita? was clearly racked with anxiety and struggled to reveal more than the fact that her daughter does possess a dark and dangerous side. With Cindy having heard from Nigel Bates that after he'd hit her with a car, Jasmine had exclaimed that somebody needed to pay, she tried to pry out of Anita, who Jasmine wanted revenge against. Panicked, Anita spilled that Jasmine's dad's family were dangerous, but said no more before running off, with Cindy instantly gripped with fear that said family were the Fords. Running straight to Ian after calling her police handler, she begged him to gather up the family to go into hiding. But he dismissed her. Seeing Jasmine having a drink on the Albert's external stairs, Cindy let loose, shouting at Jasmine that she knew who she was. She'd met her mum, and that she's finished. Cindy, enraged, walked Jasmine backwards up the stairs threateningly, and when she shoved her to create some space, Cindy toppled down the staircase, collapsing in a heap on the ground. When Oscar found Cindy, he ran to Ian's to tell her family of his discovery, just as Ian was informing them of her suspicions over Jasmine. As Oscar returned to Jasmine, he determined to convince his family that what happened was a simple case of self-defense. As Lauren waited alongside Gina, Ian approached, having been in contact with Cindy's handler. Due to the Ford's connections within the police force, she was shutting down their investigation into Cindy's attack, and it appears that the crime gang is more active than previously believed. With Oscar running into Jasmine's defense, Ian hammered home just what a threat the Ford family is, and the lengths Cindy had to go to avoid retribution, describing them as infinitely powerful and dangerous. Oscar was floored and returned home to investigate Jasmine further. Asking her directly if she was affiliated with the gang and if she's a Ford, Jasmine reaffirmed that Oscar already knows who she is. She works in a gay bar and loves reruns of Miss Marple, broken by her lack of communication, and her absolute refusal to give anything away. Jasmine left. As Lauren comforted Oscar, Jasmine made her way to Cindy's hospital room. As it seemed she'd finished the job she started on the stairs, she disappeared, with Cindy barely catching sight of her. With Jasmine refusing to either confirm or deny her lineage, has she been sent by the Fords to make Cindy pay for grassing? Or is there another reason she's so determined to infiltrate the Beals?
Cảm ơn bạn đã theo dõi kênh. Hẹn gặp lại.
EastEnders, Vicki finds support from an unexpected ally as Ross' reunion plot takes a turn. Next week in EastEnders, Vicki Fowler's world grows ever more fragile, reeling from Joel's violent attack, the collapse of her relationship with Ross, and a growing loss of control. Her emotions edge dangerously close to breaking point. But what truly struck me is this: the person who ends up offering her the most support is not who anyone expected, least of all Vicki herself. Since Joel's attack, Vicki has been crushed by trauma. Learning he plans to plead not guilty shattered her fragile resolve, pushing her into the spiral she'd fought so hard to avoid. Her outburst at Chelsea's date, Damon the married man buying triples when Chelsea wanted singles, wasn't just anger. It was projection, fear, and a desperate need to protect someone else. Perhaps because she still can't protect herself. What happened later in the laundrette only shows how volatile Vicki's state of mind has become. Damon patronizing her was enough to send her over the edge. She shoved him, he fell, and suddenly Vicki was staring down the possibility of causing real harm. Panicking, she called the one person who has never judged her Zach. I've always felt Zach has a quiet emotional intelligence, and this moment proves it. He handled Damon, protected Vicki, and ensured things didn't escalate. But the tenderness between them became impossible to ignore as the evening unfolded. Their kiss was passionate, unexpected, and in many ways inevitable. Weeks of fear, compassion, and shared trauma had drawn them closer. But the moment shattered when Kathy walked in, a stark reminder that Sharon would never approve. And let's be honest, she's right. Sharon discovering this would unleash a whole new wave of drama. Meanwhile, Ross has been trying his best to remind Vicki of the happiness they once shared. But grief, fear and betrayal have reshaped Vicki. She isn't the woman she was 3 years ago, and Ross can sense it slipping through his fingers. On the anniversary of a milestone that never came, Vicki sits alone in Harry's barn. The moment captures her longing for comfort and her uncertainty over where to find it. Then, the story takes an unexpected turn. Instead of leaning on Ross, or even Zach, Vicki crosses paths with someone entirely unexpected, someone outside her usual circle, someone who, surprisingly, sees right through the armor she's been trying so hard to hold together. This fresh source of support, while unforeseen, finally gives Vicki space to breathe. And in a story so rich with trauma and emotional chaos, I think that small moment of connection might be exactly what she needs. And EastEnders is clearly steering Vicki toward a crucial crossroads. Will she continue to spiral, or finally start healing? Will Zach be the person she leans on despite the consequences? And will Ross accept that their past can't be resurrected? From what we've seen, Vicki's journey is only just beginning, and the emotional fallout is far from over.
Cảm ơn bạn đã theo dõi kênh. Hẹn gặp lại.
EastEnders 2025 Christmas Preview. 4 major returns as Max Branning bombshells implode in a face-off with Cindy Beale. It's the television highlight of the year, the EastEnders Christmas special. As the days turn colder, things start to heat up in Walford, with the BBC One soap lining up a whole host of festive treats across December. There's been some iconic moments over the years. From Den Watts serving wife Angie the divorce papers to the murder of Keanu Taylor at the hands of 6 of Albert Square's finest. It's going to be a tough job to match previous years. But as ghosts of the past return and villains of the future emerge, it's bound to be eventful. We also get a look into the future, with thanks to a New Year's flash-forward installment. Here's everything you need to know about this year's EastEnders action. 1. Cat Moon is conflicted during Zoe Slater's torment. It's been a tough few months for Zoe Slater, who is desperate to reunite with the son she left in hospital in 2006. Amid her search, a mystery assailant has been targeting her, defacing photos, making a disturbance in the barrel store, stealing her beloved cat Minnie Mo, and leaving threatening messages at the Queen Vic. Her mum, Cat Moon, has stood by her side throughout the turmoil. But as the search for answers brings more shocking secrets to the forefront, her motherly love is tested. 2. Ghosts of Christmas. Past return to help Nigel Bates. Deep breath. Pat's back. Barry's back. Pam, St. Clement and Sean Williamson are reprising their roles as part of a special episode looking at Nigel Bates's dementia. After an eventful night in the pub unveiling his homemade film, the two appear from beyond the grave in a unique journey back to the 90s. Speaking on her return, St. Clement said, "I was both surprised and excited to be asked back to tread the streets of Walford once again, and to be involved in Nigel's touching dementia storyline. It was lovely to be welcomed back by those with whom I had worked for so long. It was just like coming home." Williamson added, "It was a complete shock getting the call to go back to Albert Square, but so exciting. I have to admit to a few nerves when I walked back onto the set of the Queen Victoria. But it was so great to work with old friends and colleagues on such a brilliant episode. Just goes to show, you never know what's around the corner." 3. Max Branning flashes forward to 2027. As Max Branning settles back into Walford life, he's hit with a series of revelations that leave him not only infuriated, but also regretful. There's the secret daughter he fathered with Linda Carter, and a vengeful Cindy Beale awaiting his comeback so that she can settle old scores regarding the death of her son Stephen. On New Year's Day, everything changes for Max, as an EastEnders first will see the action skyrocket exactly 1 year into the future. But what will 2027 hold for the Brannings and those around them? Speaking of the episode, EastEnders executive producer Ben Wadey said, For the first time in the show's history, we're going to be offering our viewers an entire flash-forward episode set on New Year's Day 2027. 2026 is going to be full of drama in Walford, especially for the Brannings. And the episode is sure to raise plenty of questions on how Max has got himself and his family into such predicaments. But all is not what it seems. So stay tuned for 2026 to find out how and why. 4. Sam Mitchell's return is on the horizon. Kim Metcalfe is reprising her role as Sam Mitchell for a new story within the coming weeks and will come face to face with Zoe. It's undoubtable that old wounds will be reopened when the two reunite. The show has teased that only time will tell if the pair are willing to put their troubles from the past aside, or whether the returnee is seeking revenge. Speaking on her return, Metcalfe said it's such a joy to be asked to come back to EastEnders, especially as it's the festive period and you know there will always be plenty of fireworks. I love the character of Sam. She always causes drama wherever she goes, but she also has that vulnerable side too, which is great to play. It's also lovely being back on set with the fantastic cast and to see old friends and new faces. Wadey added, I'm delighted to welcome Kim Metcalfe back to EastEnders for a short stint later this year. It's no secret that wherever Sam Mitchell goes, drama inevitably follows. And with ex-accomplice Zoe Slater back in the square, only time will tell if there is space for forgiveness between the pair, or whether battle lines will be drawn.
Cảm ơn bạn đã theo dõi kênh. Hẹn gặp lại.